Hello builders, and welcome to the World Zoo Project, a giant zoo where I am trying to fit a habitat in for every single animal in the game. And look, we're trying something new today. We're putting in some aerial shots of the zoo before we get started, so you can see the vast amount of work we've put into this already. And we got a long way to go, folks. But hey, we're at 135 animals so far, and this is just one of the habitats we're showcasing today. It's none other than the new DLC animal, the spectacled bear, if I'm saying that right. I always want to say something else when I say spectacled. Speckled? Spectacular. The amazing bear. Look at that face, he's so cute. I do love these bears, they are adorable. And a great addition with the Zookeeper pack. There's quite a few animals who came in that pack, and all in different areas. A couple of the animals I've already gone to the zoo, and I haven't even had to do anything because they could just fit into other habitats I've previously built. Although these bears proved a challenge, because, well, I had already built the South American area. So I was left with little choice but to make room for the bears in South America. And the only thing I could think of was to move our sweet little peccaries over to North America, because they are native to North America just as they are native to South America. They have a wide range, these animals, so it made sense to move them over. Plus, they love to be cozied up beside the bison, which is where they are right now, in that lovely bison habitat. Now the only thing left is to redo their entire habitat to fit the bears. Overall, this building didn't take me that long, as I already had a vast majority of it complete, as in the exterior of the habitat and the main viewing area. But you will be able to see how we rechange this to fit the bears. So let's get started on the building now, shall we? And first things first is to come in and just start removing a lot of the foliage, as we're going to need the space to work with. And I realized this area was pretty small, and now that I had built the swamp on the other side of the mountain, I had a good sense of how big I could extend it. So I come in, carve out the mountain, and move the rock walls back as much as I can. This way our sweet bears have as much space as we possibly can give them. After all, we are painted into a corner with this build, being that we had already built our South American area, and I failed to leave room for any future expansions. Hopefully that is the end of their South American animals, although I have mixed feelings on it, being that I always love it when they add DLCs and more animals come into the zoo. Variety is the spice of the zoo, as they say. Wait, is it zoo? I'm pretty sure it's zoo. Yeah, that's how the saying goes. Although with many areas of my zoo, if they add in too many DLC animals, I'm going to have to figure out something quick, because many of my areas are built into corners, and I don't think I can fit many animals in those areas without taking others out. So, back to talking about the building. Right now I'm doing a viewing area along the back side of the habitat to give guests a better view of the bears. It's going to be completely underground, as you will see a little bit later. Although leaving that aside for a moment, I come in and redo this original fence. I built this habitat back for the peccaries way back when I had my old computer. And in those old days my computer wasn't that strong, so to save on prop pieces I was using just the simple barrier fences. But now that I have a new computer, much stronger, faster. And with this, I can really come back and redo some of these old habitats with custom fences. Although I probably wasn't saving really that much space, being with how many props I normally put into the zoo. For instance, the Aztec temple that is right behind the camera right now probably has close to 7,000 pieces in it, probably more. But hey, now I got the new computer and I don't even have to think about it. We're just going to go back and make this habitat look even better than it was before. And one day I might go back to some of my old sections of this giant zoo and really improve on some of my old habitats. After all, it's been 10 months since I've started the zoo, and my skills have only improved since then. My earlier builds could only be improved upon with my new skills. Maybe one day in a different video I will go back and we will revisit those areas of the zoo. Now, back to this build again. Sorry for all the weird tangents. As you may have been able to tell, the theme for this area is, well, an Aztec city that is overgrown by the jungle. It is a theme that is in all the habitats in this area, and the bears are no exception to this. Overall, it was really nice coming back to this theme because I've always loved these temple pieces. I was kind of sad when I finished this area months ago, thinking I would never really use these pieces again in the zoo on such a scale. Of course, there are a few times I do sneak them in whenever I can. But really each area has its own theme, so I can only use them so much. And as I said earlier, this is going to be an underground viewing area for the guests. Once I get the walls all complete, we're going to put a roof on it, and we're going to make it all covered with rocks and dirt. After all, it is underground, and of course, to be underground, you need to have, well, ground. It's in the name. Don't know what else you need me to explain for you. And speaking of not needing any explanation, we all know how much I love rock work. It is in my name after all. So let's get on doing a little bit of rock work here. Unfortunately, there isn't much rock work in this build because, well, I've already done most of the rock work when I did the peccary habitat. I know, much sadness was had this day without much rock work. Unfortunately, all that's left to do is doing a few little detailed rocks here and there around the edges, which I always love doing as well. Once that's complete, then we will move over to doing a little bit more rock work in the bear cave, as you will see soon enough. But before we get on doing the bear cave, we're going to do this cave over here for the guest viewing. I decided to quickly come in and just add in a few more rocks on the inside to really make it look like an Aztec tunnel that is partially caved in and overgrown with nature. And it wouldn't be an overgrown section of the city without, well, some overgrown bits, when I would it. We're going to come in and add a couple little roots here and there just to add in a little bit more of age and ancientness to these walls. And now I promise it's time to redo the bear cave, or what was previously known as the peccary barn. I wanted to replicate what I had done next door with the maned wolves, which was more of an actual cave. So I am going to be removing many of the barn elements from this and just making it covered in rocks to make it look like a proper cave for our bears. After all, bears love caves, don't they? And it won't just be any old boring cave for them, no, we'll put in some proper climbing elements for them and a few toys so they can really enjoy themselves. I do really enjoy making these sleeping areas for animals looking as natural as possible. That way the animals are liking it, the guests are liking it, everybody is happy. It's a big old win-win. And what's more perfect for a big old predator bear than a cave? And plus it's easy to do for me because I love rock work, and caves are nothing but rocks now, aren't they? Now, normally I would recommend doing all of this interior work without a roof, as it's a lot easier to work with the camera. But we are redoing the peccaries, so that isn't an option in this case, because I don't feel like taking the whole roof apart and only to put it back on again. So in this rare case, I will muscle through it and just get it done. But oh boy, did I have a hard time with the camera work in this one. It was nothing short of frustrating. But like I said, we got it done, and it turned out alright for our bears. They seem happy with it. And here's some building advice for you all out there looking to make your own climbing frames. Don't feel like you have to be constrained to the habitat menu's climbing pieces. Feel free to go in and use pieces from the construction menu. Just search for the word climb and they will show up for you. There are plenty in there to use, and I don't always use all of them, but I should. Give it a try and experiment with it. Have some fun, try some new things, challenge yourself, and you will not be disappointed. And now that the interior of both caves is complete, it's time to do the exterior of the habitat. We're going to come in and start by removing a few extra trees because the bears can climb them. And then we can start adding some more foliage. Starting with the back wall. If you want to make a nice jungle wall, just take some big trees and sink them into the rockwork of your back wall. It creates a beautiful effect where it looks like there is far more foliage than there actually is, with very minimal work. Now, coming more to the interior, before we get too involved with the foliage, we're going to try to create a couple climbing frames for the bears to have fun on. It doesn't have to be anything too fancy, just a few little platforms here and there mixed in with some trees and some logs, and boom, you're done. Of course, I'm making it sound easier than it really is. Oh, you should have seen my first original platforms I ever did. They were a mess. And even now, I still feel like I could learn a lot and improve upon my climbing frames. But these are a far cry better than what I did when I first started. Just because to show you, practice makes perfect. And even though I'm not quite a perfect, I'm still practicing, and I'll get there eventually. Another good piece of advice I have for your climbing frames is to make sure to put the climbing frames in areas where the guests are going to see the animals, particularly maybe right up against the fence. That way the bears are doing some climbing, guests can see them doing the climbing, and everyone's going to be happy. Although if you are going to replicate the climbing frames I am doing right now, I would recommend disable climbing on the bottom logs, as sometimes having multiple climbing frames intersecting can be a little bit wonky with the animals and they start jittering all over the place. But that is entirely up to you. Maybe you like the jitteriness, maybe you're going to keep it. That's okay. You do you, alright? Now, coming back into the middle of the habitat, I wanted to add in a few more little bits of the Aztec theme, and plus it will give us a chance to have some fun by putting some climbing frames going through these temple pieces. And you got me, of course I have to use the temple pieces. Hey, it might be a while before I use them again. I have to get my fix in, alright? I just need it. I need to place just a few more temple pieces. All that's left now with the climbing pieces is just to attach a few more along the back wall, and once that's complete we can then get on with the foliage and the greenifying of the whole habitat to make it look like a proper jungle after all for our bears. And because the bears love to climb the trees, I have to take advantage of that and add in a few little climbing platforms to the tippy top of these trees in the hopes that maybe the bears will climb up there and just sit on them. Getting that last fix of rock work in, I'm just going to add in a few more little bits here and there just to cover them in. Oh, and look, the bears have arrived. A perfect chance for us to test out whether they can use any of the climbing pieces. And I found out that the cave was a little off and I had to widen it just a bit so the bears could get in and use everything. But hey, that's why you bring these animals in before you finish completing everything. That way you can test out the climbing frames and the space is right for the animals. And usually around this time, you might just realize that you forgot to put the animal feeders in and the toys. Not me though, I always remember to do those. Yes, anyways, moving on. Let's put in some more trees now, shall we? I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, but I always find adding in the trees and the plants to a habitat really brings everything together. All the work you do, planning it out, getting the buildings in, getting the rock work done, it's all for naught until you get the plants in. Once they're in, everything is truly set and ready for the animals to enjoy themselves. Plus, it always helps when you're on creative mode and you can put whatever plants you want into a habitat without having to worry about the animals' welfare. One little perk to being in creative mode, when you can just make everything look the way you want it to look. And now it's that time in the video where, hey, I have to do all that little shilling and say, hey, why don't you like that video and subscribe and do all those things. And you know what? Go ahead and do it. Just do it for me. You've watched the video this far, you might just like more of my content and might encourage me to keep going and add more to this channel at a faster rate. But right now I'm averaging about 1 or maybe 2 a week, but let's be honest, it's mostly just 1 a week. I do have a full-time job now and I can't dedicate as much time to the channel as I want, but I'm still trying to get some videos out. The next video will be continuing the Outback Trails, our Australian and New Zealand section of the zoo, so stay tuned and see what animal we get in there next. And if I'm not getting videos out fast enough, why don't you go check out the backlog of videos I got. I have a bunch of other animal habitats I've built for the zoo, as well as some area tours for the huge sections of this zoo as well. If you're curious, I will leave a link in the description down below for the area tour for this Aztec jungle, as well as the build for the previous owners of this habitat, the peccaries, and you can see what I had done for them, and if you can let me know if this is a vast improvement on what I had previously or not. And if you like my builds, why don't you click the link down below for Twitch and follow me over there. Whenever I build this zoo, it is always live on Twitch, and anybody who follows me will get their name in the zoo as well, up to a certain point. I don't know what that point will be, but hey, if you want to get your name in the zoo, act fast, act now, get in there. See what I did there? Adding a little bit of incentive. Maybe you can follow me now. Maybe get your name in the zoo before their space runs out. Okay, I promise. That is the end of this shameless shilling. Let's get on now to the end of the video, and you can watch and see a final cinematic road tour for the spectacled bears. Our sweet, amazing bears that they are. Alright, builders, I hope you enjoyed yourself. Have a great day, and goodbye.